Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by AJ Haefele. It hasn't been a super busy day. The Avs did make one signing. Helm. We'll get into that.
They made three.
Okay, one NHL relevant signing. Actually, that's not true. Sakura could play NHL games. Wouldn't surprise me, but we'll get into that too. Darcy Kemper did his first interview as an Av. Some other news around the league as well.
Saad, a large human being.
St. Louis. He is a big dude. He's a big, large dude. It is very true. Yeah, Hakanpää also will not be coming to Colorado, but
I was happy to see that Dallas signed him to the deal that I signed him to.
Got the 3-year
1.5.
Yep. So
let's talk about Brandon Saad.
Yeah. Saad officially going to St. Louis. $4.5 million AAV. When you look at that
a year ago.
Yeah, when you look at that, you have to think the Avs might have been interested. 5-year term, though. Takes him to age 34. I know my Twitter feed wanted him back in Colorado on that deal. What are your thoughts, AJ?
Would have had no bones.
Yeah.
I mean, 28 years old. Brandon Saad's a pretty consistent guy. $4.5 million. It's not very hard to live up to that deal. It's not like it crushes you cap wise. But you know,
the Avs made their choice. Yeah.
It's I hate to keep saying it, but I want to see where.
Yeah,
like if they're done, or if they actually do a few more things here and there. It's
hard to believe that they're done. Even after the Helm signing, they still have nearly $8 million in cap. I understand retaining some cap to have some flexibility at the deadline as a contender, but
and they also have the $1.7 million in overage.
True.
That they have,
and they have to sign Joe
this year.
But
so right now, 7.8 in cap space, 1.7 in overage. So you're down to 6.
You sign Jost, and you're down to about 4.5.
Let's say Jost is 2.
Sure.
Just so you're at 4, right there, and that would be 11 forwards, 6 defense, and 2 goalies.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't really, that kind of cash just floating around there. So, they 4.5 would have been tough for them to fit in.
I mean, they could have done it if they didn't sign Helm, maybe, but it would have been tight even then.
But this is more than a forward. I'm really looking for a defenseman.
I agree.
Because the forward spot, everybody's, you go get a top 6 forward, and then but for me, I want to give Newhook that job.
Right. Realistically, particularly after this Helm signing, I think it makes more and more sense that Newhook is that top 6 left wing, I suppose. As it stands right now, and we'll get into this more when we start talking about Darren Helm, but you're already looking at the Avs being, 4 or 5 guys deep as far as depth is concerned that could play in their bottom 6.
Yeah.
At a certain point, adding more forwards is just creating a logjam, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because Cap Friendly has Kiefer Sherwood on the NHL roster at $750.
Yeah.
And it's basically anybody that they choose to play is more expensive than that.
Yep.
Except Logan O'Connor. Logan O'Connor at $725 is actually going to save them some money.
Yeah, we'll save him $25K when he's actually on the roster.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm with you on that take, actually. Newhook makes a ton of sense to at least try in the top 6. And
yeah, and like if he doesn't, like even if he doesn't start there, like it doesn't really matter what the opening night lineup looks like that much. Like,
I mean,
it's not super important.
yeah.
It's like with a guy, because a guy like Newhook, you're planning on, okay, you want him to get better as a season. You want to find a spot where he looks comfortable and productive for you. Does that end up being the top 6? Does that end up being the middle 6? Does that end up being the 4th line? Does that end up being the AHL? We don't know the answer to that question.
The conversation is always going to be fluid there, right? You provide opportunity, and if he plays well, then you give him more.
Yeah. Well, and he's a guy that I think, like, of all these young guys that we've talked about as potential roster dudes this year, like Newhook is the one that should be like the slam dunk. He plays for you on opening night.
Absolutely has a roster spot. Yeah.
Whatever line it is, but he plays for you on opening night.
Yep, I agree. Realistically, might be the only one now, but yeah, definitely. Given the way he played at the end of last year, it's hard not to see him having a spot. And look, we've talked about it before without getting too deep into it. I think it's pretty safe to say that the Avs currently the biggest hole in their lineup is their 6th defenseman, possibly their 5th defenseman, depending on EJ's health.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that now they have to have EJ be healthy. Before the Kemper deal with Timmins, it was,
if EJ's healthy, you have a strong top 6. You have a strong 6D.
Yeah,
if EJ's out, your 6D is a question mark, but you're still rocking Timmins, so you feel okay.
and now you're in the world where Curtis McDermott is a regular for you, not like a guy that they maybe want to rotate in or move around or whatever
every night in this world.
He's a guy that they're putting in the lineup, and like I know that like we're talking about that like, oh my god, the horror. But, you remember how many games last year did Dan Renouf and Kyle Burrows?
I hear you. And the Avs were just fine. Yeah.
And Jacob, and there were games where, 2 or 3 of those guys were in the lineup, and they just kept rolling. Now, granted, the schedule won't be as easy this year. They're going to play actual NHL teams more often than not this season. But it's...
Well... The other side of that conversation, though, is there's obvious and easy to acquire upgrades at that position in free agency that should be pretty darn affordable. As we just saw, Hakanpää went for $1.5 million.
Yeah, and chose to play in Dallas because he wanted to play with Finns.
Yeah.
So unless the Avs were going to make a grip of Finns,
should have kept Donskoy, I guess.
Yeah, I did. Like that was a decision that he made. Like why didn't the Avs do this? Like free agents they're allowed to make choices too.
Yeah, absolutely, and they should.
The Avs have a Finn.
They
Correct.
have Mikko, and that's
they have a Finn.
Yep.
1 Finn. Dallas has 4, 5.
They have
Sampo
a lot.
Ranta doesn't count as Finnish anymore.
He's American.
We're claiming him.
He played his hockey in the USHL, all right? He's American.
Yeah. When those guys come over USHL and then play college hockey, we get them. They're ours now.
But just to...
that time him playing for Finland in the WJC is irrelevant. He's American now.
Just to reiterate, after the Helm signing, there isn't really room for another cheap forward in the Avs lineup. Whereas on defense, you can easily get better with another cheap forward or cheap defenseman, sorry. Whether that be options are still plentiful out there, whether you want Ryan Murray, Jason Demers, I guess Brendan Smith, You can go
another guy that plays forward and defense,
yeah, completely.
does both of them poorly.
But pick the guy you like. You can go down the list of Connor Carrick, or if you want Jack Johnson, I guess. But there are still dudes out there that if you drop them in your 6D spot over Curtis McDermott, you're better today, right?
Yes.
Super chat here. I think Joe is going to make a trade during preseason. It's going to be very competitive preseason.
Preseason deals are super rare.
It's not only that, anything like that is basically impossible to predict at the moment.
That'd be fun, though. I mean,
it would be fun. Yeah, Merrill's still out there if you like that guy. Pick your poison, basically, if you want someone. There's a number of dudes that you could go out and get. Okay, so that's where it's at.
Did you see the Brandon Saad comments
No.
on signing in St. Louis?
I did not. What are they?
I've won in my career. I've been fortunate. And once you get a taste of it, there's no better feeling. I wanted to go somewhere that I had a chance of winning and where there was a successful team. The Blues fit that mold.
If you say so, Brandon.
I think it's really interesting that he was on the team that kicked their fucking face in the postseason. And he was like, sign me up for that.
I'm going to go there to win.
But also, I'm curious what his other offers really looked like.
Right. Were the
versus
Blues the only ones giving him that money in term? Yeah.
Well, and what were those terms versus the terms of maybe other competitive teams that were
a little more cap strapped? Sure.
Yeah. I would just be curious what it's like.
How different were those offers? Yeah.
Yeah. What did he actually take 24 whole hours to weigh?
Yep.
But it was pretty funny. I just like the idea of man, we smoked those guys. Let's go join them. With me, they'll be so much better.
All right. We can get into the guys the Avs signed today in just a bit, but we are brought to you by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. You can get them down at the DNVR bar or find them at your local liquor store. I think they're delicious. I love the Avalanche. Try it today because, they support us and we support our partners. It's a good deal every single way. Also brought to y'all by DraftKings Sportsbook. Like I said, use that DNVR code. Get in there. Get yourself some amazing odds boosts. Right now, you can, if you're a new account, bet $1 to win $100. Pick any event that you think the U.S. is going to medal in. Doesn't matter if they get bronze, silver, or gold. If they medal in it, you turn $1 into $100. So pretty darn easy money.
Leading all countries right now with 38 medals.
They're doing pretty good. Good.
China second with 31.
All right.
And I'm assuming that this fake Russia is third.
ROC, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you got a good read on any sport that America's good at, make your bet, win $100. It's super easy. If the Olympics is really not for you, of course, you can bet on pretty much any other sport in the world, whether that be the big four here in the States or hockey in Russia, hockey in Europe, table tennis, not at the Olympics if you're into that type of thing. You name it, you can bet on it over at DraftKings Sportsbook. They're super easy to use. Download that top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use that DNVR code for that $1 into $100 in site credit opportunity. Again, DNVR code. Got to put that in if you want the odds boost. Limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Also,
do you hear that?
What?
Do you hear that?
No. People stomping around upstairs or something?
No, there's there's an airplane
crashing.
Yeah, flying super low over my house.
I live right next to an Air Force base, so that's just every day for me. Still can't hear it on the show. But,
Super, super low.
In any case, also consider, signing up for a DNVR membership because we're pretty cool. To get the yearly membership, you get a bunch of amazing stuff, including a free shirt, big beers at the bar, access to the DNVR lounge. It's all awesome. It's pretty cool. We're chilling. AJ, of course, has a bunch of written stuff between AJ and Evan on all the new guys the Avs are acquiring over the last couple of days. But yeah, we do good stuff. Support us and stuff. You don't have to super chat. You can also get cool stuff for supporting us and having a membership. All right. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Let's get into the signing of today, or at least the signing so far of today.
I told Z that we should start a bit where we just don't ever mention Darren Helm. like we go through today's entire show and we just never mention his name and pretend like it didn't happen. And then all summer when we were talking about the roster and we were talking and just don't include him for no reason. Just don't do it. Just for fun. Just to see what, like how long it would take before somebody's like, what are you guys doing? Like, how come you guys don't talk about this guy? And then like get into the middle of December and then be like, when did Darren Helm sign with the Avs? After he's been in the lineup for like 25 games.
All right, so the signing of today, Dylan Sakura.
I think it was telling that the Eagles announced that signing as well.
Yeah. I think there's a bigger conversation here that I do want to get into.
Is it the same conversation we have every year?
Yep. I'm gonna take a little bit of a different approach with it though. Look, let's start with Darren Helm before we get into that conversation. The Avs get him for $1 million on 1 year. This is just doing the Belmar thing and running it back again. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you remember Belmar was a multi-year deal.
Correct.
And it was $1.8 million.
Cheaper for only 1 year, but conceptually veteran, good defensive metrics to drop on your fourth line.
He's kind of like Calvert and Belmar
combined
into one.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
He plays all three forward positions, and it's like speed, PK.
Yep,
that's what he's there to do, and he'll give you like
15 points,
like some offense. Like he'll give you
that's generous, I think, but okay.
I mean, he'll give you fourth liner offense. Like let's be real. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh, I like him more than I like Belmar as a fit in Colorado specifically.
Okay. Just with skating ability alone, maybe on that one. But look, this one's pretty straightforward to drop in on your fourth line, fill that role.
The most amazing part of this is that I didn't, like so many other people, I thought Darren Helm had just retired.
Yeah, right? It's like, isn't he like 1 million years old?
Yeah, I couldn't believe when I looked him up and he was 34. So the real thing here is that they lost a Manitoban with Matt Calvert.
Had to
replaced the Manitoban with Darren Helm.
Good
on Manitobans.
Some other takes here as we have his J Fresh hockey card too. One, definitely fits team male model.
I mean, in that picture, you're like, all right, Darren Helm kind of fine. He kind of has it going on.
Hold on, I wanna go deeper dive on this picture specifically because
shit, we've got a plan.
Dye Darren Helm's hair a little bit lighter blonde, and is this not just Colin Wilson with dyed hair? Yeah,
true.
He looks a lot like Colin Wilson, man.
Yeah, it's true. He does look a lot like Colin Wilson. Do all Manitobans look the same?
So maybe that's the secret. There's only one person from Manitoba, and he's immortal, and he just keeps playing in the bottom six of NHL hockey.
That's right. Just keeps recycling them. So none of these are particularly encouraging. Like the offensive stuff.
Yeah, it's not good.
That's fine. But like the quality of competition is interesting because you look at his quality of teammate is trash, but his quality of competition is interesting. He actually had some tough minutes there. The PK isn't great, but it's actually better than what Belmar did.
Belmar was quietly pretty bad on
the PK.
Yeah.
It got bad at the end. And then the even strength defense is good.
Yeah,
cool.
It's prototypical fourth line veteran stuff, basically.
Whoa, we're not gonna shit talk Manitoba. That's that's a bottom six comment, friend.
Oof,
that's not nice.
So
we're a pro Manitoba podcast. Thank you.
Helm, look, he's going to start the season on the Avs roster.
He's going to be on the Avs roster the entire year.
Yeah.
Anybody? I saw that there were people who were
saying it's a competition. That's just not reality.
Well, he might be. No, he's going to be on the roster the whole year.
Yeah. So
yes, we are pro Manitoba. Yes. If you are anti Manitoba, then you are going directly against the soul of this pod.
AJ's kind of, engaged to part of Manitoba, so
yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be tough to go against Manitoba on this pod.
Yeah.
But so Helm's in the lineup, right? Realistically, let's do a quick rundown, or I'll do a quick rundown of a rough lineup. Don't take the lines too seriously, but obviously of the big three, it's just called a second line: Newhook, Kadri, Burakovsky. You have a third line of Jost, Newhook, and Comfer, let's say, for now. You end up with a fourth line of what?
Did you just put Newhook on two lines?
Did I? I meant Nichushkin on the third line.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm with you.
Yeah, you end up with like 8 or 9 dudes that you could reasonably see on the fourth line.
Yeah, because right now, okay. So the other question is, Darren Helm, what position is he going to play? Because he hasn't played center in several years.
Well, and look, we've already heard from Joe Sakic that it sure sounds like they want to give Maltsev that 4C job.
Well, and Sakic also was really effusive in his praise of giving Connor Timmins a bigger role too.
True.
So
he gave Connor Timmins a bigger role. It's just not Colorado.
That's true. He definitely put him in a spot where he's going to see more ice time. That's true. That's a good point. That's 4D chess right there.
But
so yeah, no, I think so. The conversation. Let's just run through the names here, and we're going to assume, just for the sake of this conversation, that Alex Newhook is in the top 9 somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Okay, and somewhere in the top 9 that we think we know as of right now who those top 9 guys are. So that bottom line, then you are talking about.
So you put Helm as a lock.
Darren Helm, Mikhail Maltsev, Stefan Matteau, Kiefer Sherwood, Shane Bowers, Sampo Ranta, Martin Kaut, Andreas Vingerly, Dylan Sakura, Logan O'Connor, Jason Magna.
So that's 11 dudes. That is a lot of forwards that could all play on that fourth line.
That's a lot.
So,
and like those are all guys that do I think that Matteau will play a single game for the Avs as of right now, this very moment? No.
But I mean, like, even if you chop off some of the deeper guys there, like you're still looking at Helm, LOC, Maltsev, all very, very likely to get NHL games.
They acquired Maltsev with the express intent of playing him in the NHL.
There's a very good chance Sherwood gets some games. I'd say there's a very good chance Kaut gets some games. It probably a decent chance Wingerly's in that conversation, depending on camp.
Yeah, well, and this is where camp sets that hierarchy.
Yeah, but I'm looking at like reasonably, we're already at 6 guys that I would say are very likely to at least get a couple game looks on that line.
Like, so of those guys, though, there are a couple guys that I think are absolute stone cold locks for the roster.
Yeah, well, Helm and LOC, I assume.
Helm and LOC, and then I think
Maltsev after
Maltsev. I think Maltsev is going to get a look, man.
Yeah.
So you're talking. There's only. Let's just go with Helm and LOC as actual like
locks.
Sure. Locks.
Sure.
Okay, so then of those 11 guys, now those 9 guys are competing for up to 4 spots. Up to 3 spots, sorry. 1 playing and then 2 backup jobs.
Yeah, two scratches.
If they maximize the roster.
Which they very likely won't.
Which maybe they will, maybe they won't, we'll see. But
call it the call-up spot then either way.
I did not include Jean-Luc Foudy because I don't think that would look, if Jean-Luc Foudy ends up in the NHL this year, 1, a lot of dudes got hurt, and 2, he had a dope year in the AHL.
Like if Foudy does something to earn the call up, you're high-fiving about it because he went off. But so you have a bunch of dudes essentially fighting for 1 lineup spot, maybe 3 roster spots.
Yeah. And then it will be interesting going into camp to see how they're aligned.
Agreed.
Because typically they want to put the guys that they're giving serious looks to together. And then they'll put the AHL guys together to kind of get a jump on Eagles camp. Yep. So, Darcy, but one thing we didn't talk about, just because Emilio's asking about Darcy Kemper's roster. The one thing I felt bad about not mentioning last night is that he is a ultra competitive dude. And that's something I think is going to be a really interesting change in goal, because Philip Grubauer is just the coolest cat. Like he just chills, right? Like he's such a laid back dude. It's not to say he's not competitive, but like Kemper is a very outwardly competitive individual. And I think that's going to be fun and interesting. Sorry. I just wanted to
bring a little bit of that Patrick Waugh fire to the goaltender.
I'm not going to go that far, but I'm just going to say it will be different to see, because like Grubauer, great work ethic, but he was just chilling.
Yep,
all the time. Like he was unflappable. And I will be curious to see Kemper, and
maybe
a real fiery
a little bit
guy,
of that edge. Yeah, for sure.
Be interesting to see.
Yeah. He sounds super happy to be here in his interview and everything, which is no surprise. Probably nice when you come from Arizona to a team that's actually competitive, but we'll see. And obviously excited for the potential Kemper can bring, but getting back to the forward core, AJ, first of all, is there such a thing as too much competition?
I don't know about like too much competition. I think that there might be such a thing as you've taken all of this guy's hope away that he has a real shot at it.
Yeah, sure.
Like, if I'm Shane Bowers, Martin Kaut, these are the 2 guys that, let's be real, this is what we're talking about.
I especially Shane Bowers, I would
say. The guy who's not seen an NHL game played. Yeah. It would feel like I think I would feel bad right now. I'm motivated. I'm trying to have the best summer. I feel like time's running out on me. And then they go out and they drop 4 or 5 more guys that can do his job.
Yep. Into
the organization, where it's just like they don't have any faith in me whatsoever.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, like, it's hard from like an emotional perspective, because 1, you're a competitor, you want to compete. That should bring out the best in you. But two, at some point, like you have to be wondering when's it my turn.
Here's the competition is one thing, right? Like I can understand that even if you're Shane Bowers, you're saying, look, I can still beat these guys out for a job. Where I struggle with that is when they add a Darren Helm, when they add a Mikhail Maltsev and immediately say they intend to play him in the NHL, all of a sudden dudes are leapfrogging that guy from the outset. And now he's competing for one roster spot instead of potentially 3,
Yeah.
But I do struggle with that a little bit, especially. And look, let me be clear here. We're nitpicking a 4th line role. Darren Helm will fit in and be just fine in that role. There's no.
Yeah. Neither one of us have any like really strong objections to Darren Helm signing.
Yeah.
If there were 3 Darren Helm signings, we would have a different conversation.
Right. That's a lot different than 1. But I mean, I have 2 ways that I want to go with this. First of all, yes, that personally, of course, I would like to see the Avs use some internal options a little bit more aggressively, such as Martin Kaut, Shane Bowers. But look, the Avs made their decision. They liked Darren Helm. They're going to play him. They went out and got Maltsev. They're going to play him. Fine. I'm okay with that. Where I struggle with adding this many forwards and potentially moving away from playing someone like a Kaut especially is dealing with injuries in their forward lineup. Right now, if someone in the bottom 6 gets injured, they have a million dudes that can step into that role.
And like a million like replacement level-ish.
Right.
Dudes. And a couple of guys that you were like, maybe this could go better than that.
Exactly. And that's where I'm worried, because I want the nod to be given to the guys where you're hoping that things could go better, especially because the big part of these ELCs and where you get an advantage out of them is the potential for there to be more. Because right now, a bunch of these dudes that were stepping into the lineup, if someone in the Avs top 6 gets hurt, they're in a little bit of trouble, especially
they've got nothing.
Right. No one outside of Newhook, who may just be in the top 6 anyway.
Yeah.
They don't really have anyone that can step up and potentially fill a role in that top 6, because they haven't given opportunities to guys with potentially someone who could fill that role like a Kaut. And I struggle with that, especially when you look at a team like Tampa Bay. We were talking about it the other day. Guys like Ross Colton, guys like Matthew Joseph, who are playing in that lineup, yes, likely under their station a little bit because of the talent in that lineup and the way it works as an ELC group. But when you have a player that you can play in your lineup that's under their station, it makes replacing higher level injuries easier. And right now, the Avs just have a bunch of dudes that replace bottom 6 roles and can't really elevate to a middle 6 even level for most of them.
That's where JT Comfer as your Jonas Donskoy replacement really hurts. Yep. Because on the 3rd line, I think it's fine.
Correct. But on the 2nd line, you know how that story goes.
As the guy that has to jump into a job in the top 6, you don't feel good about that.
Yep.
You don't feel good about that at all. You don't feel good about any of those guys, like Tyson Jost, Val Nichushkin. You don't want any of those guys in your top 6.
Yep. The production just
you've seen it. There are like years of data to show you like these are guys that just So I don't know, man.
My point being, that's where I struggle with. The Avs went out and got all of these dudes, and it doesn't feel like they answered their big question with all of this depth. Because, look, I don't mean any offense to any of these guys, but bottom 6 forwards in the NHL are a dime a dozen. You can go out and get one any day for cheap. Getting guys with potential to fill your top 6 and not be a hindrance, not as easy. So it's
look. Tyson Jost was given the de facto 2C job when Kadri was out in the postseason and got fucking crushed.
Yeah, that line was bad.
Yeah, like he got his head kicked in. So, yeah, I'm sure. I'm comfortable with the idea that Tyson Jost like smashed into his ceiling. So I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good with where he is on that third line. That was a revelation. That was a breakout for him. Do that again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation we can have on another day. Is
Dan Renouf signed with Detroit.
good for him.
He's back there with them.
Avs just swapping players with Detroit. They take Helm. Detroit can have Renouf. Call it even. So Val in the top 6 is the same story, right? For the 2 weeks a year when he's unbelievably hot, play him in the top 6. But any other week, and he doesn't have the offense to function in the top 6.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. That's my concern with the forward core, and why I understand people out here calling to go out and get a Tomas Tatar. Something like that. It's just a question of the Avs likely don't have the space unless he comes on the cheap, or if they ignore their issue at defense, which, decisions have to be made there still in Zakic's case. But I don't know. AJ, how do you feel about it? The other thing I'm worried about as people are talking with Jost and Nichushkin here is I'm a little concerned about the Avs bottom 6's ability to produce. And I understand, look, 28 teams in the NHL are worried about their bottom 6's production. Yeah. That's why they're bottom 6 players. But you're hoping for a repeat performance from Jost. You're hoping for a bounce back from Comfer. You're hoping Nichushkin continues to be the guy he is. You're probably pretty confident in Nuke. The other two, not as much. You add Helm, who really isn't going to give you much more production than Belmar did.
Same
range, sure.
5 years ago, he was a 30-point guy, but
you have Logan O'Connor, which I think you pretty much understand where the production is going to be there.
The top six is right now. The top 6 might have gone from Brandon Saad to Alex Newhook, and that's literally the only change.
Yep.
Brandon Saad does Brandon Saad get replaced externally or internally is the question.
Right. It is Newhook on the third line, and you're playing Comfort up there or whatever. But
yeah, and they won't be as deep and proven NHL guys, but the real depth loss here for me is defensively, not at forward. The forward core doesn't bother me that much.
Look, regardless of whether it's second line or third line, you're betting on Newhook. We talked about this yesterday. It may not be a better offensive core on day one, but if Newhook's playing in the NHL every day goes the way the Avs are hoping it does, by the end of the year, that could be a significant improvement. The other guy I think you're likely betting on is Mikhail Maltsev.
Yeah.
To be a solid producer for you in your bottom 6.
Yeah. I mean, if he produces at the same rate that he did last year, which he had 9 points in 33 games.
So it's not 25-point guy.
Not amazing, but he's a 20-point guy. If that's on your fourth line, that's okay.
I mean, that replaces Matt Calvert, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you're looking at and targeting is the offensive production. That pretty much sums it up. I think the offense with the addition of Helm, the offense has gotten significantly more rigid. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean the big thing that Colorado lost is the flexibility.
Yep.
In case of any injury whatsoever.
Yep.
That's a big problem. But also, this is the second day of free agency, and
right. Look,
remember, Val Nichushkin was signed in the middle of August in a regular offseason.
Anywhere between 15 minutes from now to the next 2 months could see a significant change to this. But
Morgan's point right here is exactly what I'm kind of leaning into, is that, a month from now, if there's guys that are unsigned, a Ryan Donato coming in, an Andre Kasha coming in, either on a PTO or a cheap 1-year
take
deal,
a $1 million type of deal thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like those are the things that they'll have to sort out, where they take some chances, where they might be able to get some guys that can help them.
For sure. Definitely the case there.
That's not how the salary cap works, guys. You can max out on day one of the regular season and be just fine in terms of trade deadline flexibility.
The cap is calculated daily. So you can do some funny things to create space.
I'm not saying that the Avs need to spend all cap. So you guys were telling me that the bonus overages were calculated in their cap space. I just did the basic math. It is. So you guys were right. I was wrong.
So they have an extra $1.5 million to play with.
Yeah. So they have. So if they're at 7 and Jost, we assume at 2, then they have right around $5 million to spend. You want to see them at least spend
3 of that.
I would say comfortably 3 of that, and then probably 4.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's an aggressive projection for Tyson Jost, in my opinion.
Right. Realistically, you're hoping for 1.5 in that deal.
This is also like Stefan Matteau is the guy that's in the NHL right now. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Look, give it plus or minus 500K either way, right?
Yeah.
Just to be safe.
Like, I think Newhook is in the AHL. Yeah, they have Newhook down there.
So that's switch him for Matteau, and it's like a
Sampo Ranta makes more money than Alex Newhook?
Yeah, crazy, right? Hard to get those college kids out. I bet Newhook has a ton of bonuses that Ranta doesn't, though.
Yeah.
Newhook has to actually hit the bonuses, to be fair. But
but just the max bonuses, he has double the bonus. The bonuses. So. Yeah. And we know that he hit one of those bonuses because these overages, one of them is Alex Newhook's games played bonus.
Made it.
Anyway, they've got wiggle room here where they can do something.
All right. Real quick before we wrap up the show, we are brought to y'all by Strava Craft Coffee, the CBD infused coffee that has really changed lives. You can get 25% off when you use code DNVR25 online to order, and you get 20% off indefinitely if you sign up for their subscription service. So give them a shot today.
Man.
AJ just watching dudes go.
Minnesota seriously need another third pairing? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Also, looking to buy a home here in Colorado, Chevalier Mortgage has you covered. Both Mike and Virginia have been in the business for a very long time. They got you covered not only with getting a great rate on your loan, but Mike is a certified financial planner. So they will look at all of your financial situation and find the correct loan for you. So check them out at dnvrmortgage.com. When you head over there, you can get a free consultation and also enter for your chance to win some free DNVR merch as well. So might as well jump over and check out dnvrmortgage.com for the free stuff at very least. You can also call Virginia directly at 303-257-6578. They'll take care of you here. We're all diehard sports fans. Michael Chevalier, NMLS 1931006. Virginia Chevalier, NMLS 1910631. Of course, also check out Green Mountain Dental Group. They can take care of your teeth and make your teeth all nice, shiny, and pretty looking like mine are nowadays. Highly recommend. Go over there, just 15 minutes from downtown Denver. And when you sign up for a cleaning, x-ray, and exam with them, you get a free Sonicare toothbrush. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. What are you giggling about over there, AJ?
I was just going through Minnesota's organization, trying to see
if they have 18 defensemen.
Well, and I forgot, like, Joe Hicketts existed.
Oh man, what a name that is.
Do you remember when Joe Hicketts was with Detroit?
Yeah, he was supposed to be hot shit in Detroit. Yeah.
When he signed, because he was undrafted, and he signed with Detroit out of the WHL, and everybody was like, keep an eye on this Joe Hicketts. It's good. He's coming. Oh, Detroit. Oh man, the Red Wings got to steal. Joe Hicketts, 22 games played, 5 assists, -9, 4 penalty minutes in 3 seasons.
That's a yike. How old is he now? 25? 26?
Yeah, 25.
Yeah.
Still a really productive AHL player, but I'm glad somebody else remembers like when Joe Hicketts came out of the dub that it was like a big deal.
Everybody's about this dude. Yeah.
People were like, you just watch out for Joe Hicketts. And it was like, oh my God. I think it was because he went to WJCs on Team Canada.
Yep.
And it was like, people were like, Joe Hicketts. And okay. Now he's in Minnesota's organization. With Dakota Mermis. Yes. I remember I was watching Dakota Mermis when he scored his 1 NHL goal.
Really?
In his career. Yeah, I was watching that game live for some reason. It was like this little turnaround shot that he didn't see because it was like this weak turnaround shot from just inside the blue line, and seeing eye shot, right? Never should have gone in. Super soft. But it was just like he didn't see it, and then all of his teammates were like, "Oh my gosh." And he was the last one to realize he had scored his first goal.
You love to see it.
Fun story for Dakota Mermis. And now he's in Minnesota.
There really haven't been any other big deals today outside of Saad, have there?
It's interesting that they've remade their bottom. So Ian Cole, Carson Soucy, Ryan Suter has turned into Alex Goligoski, Dmitry Kulikov, and John Merrill. So that's different.
That's kind of weird.
It's a lot different, right? And you're like, all right, well, those are all guys I've heard of.
They do play in the NHL.
John Merrill 1 year at $850K is exactly the kind of thing that they need to, that they should really be trying to get done with somebody. Give me Ryan Murray. The thing I actually like about Ryan Murray is that he actually would fit their play style, and it's not like a McDermott or a Nemeth. We are like, okay, well, we went and got this like lug back here that does these things the other guys don't do, but absolutely doesn't fit in remotely with our identity.
Yeah. And which, I mean, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing too, right? But
yeah, like you need versatility. You need a variety of skill sets. And there's a little bit of concern now that Colorado's defense is a little too samey. But
you also need someone that can bring that skill set and make it fit in your system.
Yeah, like you've got to find guys that work for you.
Yep.
So,
agreed.
So, what do you think about this idea? Since we're just kind of chilling right now.
Yeah, we're
Greg Wyshynski proposing that Vegas trade for Andre Kopitar.
What's Kopi's cap hit?
$1 billion.
Yeah, I know. It's like so you're assuming Kings retain half just right off the bat, right?
I'm assuming the Kings retain something, like maybe $1 million or $2 million.
There's 3 years left on that, dude. No way.
I mean, they just got Phil Deneau, and they've got Turcotte, and they've got Byfield.
Right. Like if Kopi had 1, maybe 2 years left, maybe I see that, but the third year just kills that. I don't see how they make it work. What is Vegas giving up to LA to get him?
Krebs.
Yeah, probably starts with Krebs.
Maybe Brisson instead of Krebs. For the same reason that they would be comfortable moving Kopitar is the same reason they don't need Krebs.
Fair enough. Brisson, they get a potential high-end goal scorer, I guess. Yeah,
like from a Vegas perspective, it's hilariously obvious why this makes sense for them. But for LA, it's also like, would you trade like your
I mean,
one of the two faces of your most successful generation ever.
For Vegas, it only makes sense like this year, though, potentially. Because you're taking on a massive cap hit for a guy that is not young. He's 33.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, obviously he's played great, but that's a big gamble for Vegas, in my opinion.
I'd be for it, man, because they're so locked into their roster. Like, they're how different are they if they are Kopitar, Carlson, and Stevenson down the middle versus Stevenson, Carlson, whatever they do down there.
They're better today, but even if the Kings retain $2 million, that's $8 million in cap that Vegas has to find room for. And over the cap.
This would have made more sense pre-Dadonov.
Right. Once they signed Martinez and Dadonov, this stopped being a thing that was realistic. But
I just think it's a fun idea. I also think it's just fun that you have Vegas is a team that's been to the conference finals
multiple times.
3 of 4 years, 3 of the last 4 years. The one time, obviously, that they didn't advance, they got screwed.
Yep.
But it's interesting that this roster's there. It's right there. But they just can't find that center to push them down the middle, to push them through that next barrier and make them okay, because they're half a step from it. They're so close, man.
Look, I'm not saying that it's wrong, but how many teams that have been half a step from it made the move and it not worked?
Yeah, well, and that's why they play the games.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Right now, I think their centers are Stevenson, Carlson, Waugh. And then I'm not sure what they do fourth line. They Colorado. They have loaded up on cats that they can
pick any number of dudes. Sure.
They got Brett Howden. They got Nolan Patrick. I saw they just re-signed Patrick Brown.
Okay.
They still have Peyton Krebs. Be curious what they do. Otherwise, I like the Brossois move. Bringing Martinez back was something they really needed to do. But the Dadonov thing, I still don't get. Especially because he just has not been very good the last couple of years.
It does. I feel like after that first year, a lot of what Vegas has done just feels like they kind of just do stuff. In the off season, a lot of the moves they've made they almost feel like for the sake of making a move at times.
The Dadonov move.
Yeah.
Dadonov definitely felt that way.
So. But, I don't know.
Yeah. Alex Tuck is still only 25. My goodness.
He's a dude.
Where is Tarasenko going to land? That's a great question.
Colorado at half retained.
Yeah, I absolutely don't know. That market's getting smaller.
Yeah.
So the price is getting lower.
Yep. I think there's a pretty good chance he's just in St. Louis still.
And yeah, they're it's are they seriously going to
outweigh themselves on this one? Yeah.
Just going to bite the bullet and be like, okay, 4th round pick or whatever.
That'd be pretty yike.
Oh, I don't want the Fs to mess with the Kyle Palmieri stuff.
The Avs don't need Palmieri at all.
I liked Kyle Palmieri 2 years ago, but after watching him with the Island this last year, it's like that's a relationship that's going to continue. Go get Casey Cizikas, though. You can pluck him from the Islanders. That's fun.
Oh boy, here we go again. This conversation.
Casey.
All right. Let's do this real quick before we get out of here. AJ, we're both in agreement. We think the Avs should go get a defenseman. Rank your defensemen left on the market here. Give me your top couple. I know you're going to have to look at the list and stuff, but I'm curious to see who you think
Ryan
they
Murray.
should target. You think Murray is one?
I think he's the guy that fits, and he's the guy that gives them the most upside if he actually comes in and plays well.
Not worried about injury history taking them right back to square one with him?
Pretty worried about it.
Yeah.
Not going to pretend like it's not a factor there. But really, like, this market's not super intriguing.
I mean, there's a bunch of dudes you can get by with, right?
Like, I saw there was a conversation earlier about, like, Eric Goodbranson.
Not my favorite.
Please no.
I actually don't mind Jason Demers, but you probably will hate him. So
no, Jason Demers is a guy that I've liked most of his career.
Maybe it's Evan that'll hate him then.
As your like sixth guy.
Yeah, right.
You know,
you have to understand the role that you're putting this guy in.
Yeah, like Jason Demers would be. I mean, these are all like this is like a 1 year, $1 million,
right,
$2 million absolute tops here.
Yep.
For some of these guys, you know, I've always been a Ben Hutton fan, so I like Ben Hutton.
Sure.
Connor Carrick is like had his moments, but I don't think he's a guy that I would want to. I would be comfortable relying on.
I wouldn't mind him.
I'd be curious to see how healthy Sammy Vatanen is, but Vatanen is kind of like more of like they just don't really need this cap.
Yeah.
Like what he does well is not what they need to be going after. So less interested there. Same reason I'm not interested in Eric Gustafsson.
Look, they certainly won't have Justin Barron penciled into the 6D on opening night. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
There's a world where he plays well in the AHL and he gets a look down the line this year, but there's no way they just have him riding shotgun right away.
Just throw him to the wolves like that.
Yeah.
Funny because we're like, oh, give some of these developed guys a chance. And we're like, Justin Barron, no. Well, but it's mostly fear that like you screw him up.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kaut and Bowers have been in pro hockey in North America for the 3 years now. So
years now.
It's very different than Justin Barron.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't hate Rosen. I mean, he's not great or anything, but
God, this market dried up so much even from just yesterday.
Yep. When there aren't that many names out there, it dries up quick, man.
Apparently, I look at Ryan Murray's stuff a lot because his name just autofilled.
Pops that one right up for you.
Yeah. I typed in R and it just filled Ryan Murray.
Like, you want Ryan Murray. We know. We know where you're going.
The Columbus connection is there. It just feels like it makes sense. That's all.
If you can get him for cheap on a 1 year, I'd do it. Have no problems with it.
It amazes me how often we have addressed the issue with we've talked about the issue with the podcast posting.
Uh-huh.
We're still getting messages about it
multiple times. Yeah.
And
I don't know what to tell y'all. It worked the other day and then it stopped working again. So yesterday's pod is up now because it uploaded overnight. So
that's fun.
this pod will be up whenever Megaphone lets me put it up. That's about all there is to it. I don't know what to tell you.
We're talking about defenders. I mean, are there any? See, the thing is that there are forwards, and I think instead of paying Tatar $4 million, I might almost prefer taking the roll of the dice on like the Donatos and the Kashas.
Sure, less long-term risk certainly there.
God, there's a lot of forwards that you could lie to yourself that could help you. Do you remember a couple of off seasons ago when we were talking about Nikita Gusev as he was coming from the KHL?
Yep.
And people went like ballistic over the idea of him playing like the Avs going and getting Nikita Gusev. And now he's a free agent, and there isn't a peep about him. It's funny how that goes sometimes.
Look, it's all hype when it's not a known quantity, right?
Yeah, because you can talk yourself into. He's gonna be
XYZ.
He's gonna be the next Panarin.
What was that? All of a sudden, you're like a New York babushka or something there, talking about like your grandkids.
Yeah, sure. I'm good with that. Yeah. Just in case people didn't see my middle of the night tweet, I got clarification last night that the first round pick that the Avs sent to Arizona was lotto protected.
It is lotto protected, which is good. There's no reason not to do that.
Yeah. Some conflicting reports, but after I wrote my story and made that a part of my cons, it got corrected, and I was like, okay.
All right, so the Avs have $5 million roughly in cap. You're looking at a defenseman for $1 to $2 million, and maybe another forward in the same range. Maybe $1 million, $3 million, whatever, something like that.
Yeah. Let's say Jason Damaris $2 million, Andre Kasha $2 million, 1 year deal for both.
There you go. Done. It's over. Easy life.
I blammed. Lotto protection works if the Avs miss the postseason, they're in the lottery. And they keep their pick. And then the pick moves to the next year. In which case it is unprotected.
Which would still not be great.
I mean, they gonna miss the postseason 2 years in a row. You can always talk yourself into worst case scenario. I talk about it. I've talked about it on this podcast a bunch of times. Really good teams miss the postseason randomly in the middle of things happening to them. Y'all remember who drafted in front of the Avs in 2015 with the 9th pick? The San Jose Sharks.
Yeah,
right in the middle of that big old run that they were on, where they made the postseason and they went to the conference finals, and they did all this stuff randomly, right? They just missed the postseason.
Stuff happens, no doubt about it.
You know who you remember who was drafted in 3rd overall in 2013 when the Avs drafted Nathan McKinnon?
Nope.
It was Tampa Bay.
There you go. Oh yeah, that's right. They took Druin. Duh.
Yeah. These things weirdly, really good teams will just occasionally just be like, oh. They just missed the postseason.
Yeah, things happen. Totally. Totally get that.
Do you remember how the Avs ended up with Bo and Byram? They
Ottawa did an oops.
Ottawa was 1 goal from the Stanley Cup Finals, and granted, all of their underlying numbers were
not
this
sustainable.
team is not this good. But if you go back and you look at that team, and
Probably
you look
should
at,
have been a playoff team still. Yeah.
Yes. Like it was so crazy. Like that team fell apart that hard, like to that level. It was insane. And then of course they like tanked, and then the Avs got that pick. But it was just like things happen. So that's why the lotto protection was a thing for me. Is because it was like, look, if they miss the postseason, like there's a worst case scenario for every team in the league. And for Colorado, it would be
Kemper breaks immediately.
Yeah, it would be missing the postseason.
Yeah,
and like you look at this roster, and we're talking about the lack of depth, and yeah, that's the concern. Look, if Nathan MacKinnon goes down for any extended period of time, the Avs are in trouble.
Yeah. Nathan MacKinnon or Darcy Kemper, if they miss for extended periods, it's bad.
Yeah.
I do think this team is talented enough that they could potentially squeak into the playoffs anyway if one of those things happen. But
the combination of the defense being as good as it's going to be.
Yep.
And the Central Division being as mediocre as it's going to be. I don't think the Central Division is bad.
I don't think they're very good, man.
I think it's mediocre. I think it's a whole bunch of the teams that draft are going to draft between 9 and 17. I think that it's going to be a bunch of freaking Central teams, just like it was this year. But I don't know. Outside of Arizona, Arizona's legitimately a bottom 5 team. But I don't know that there's anyone else in the division that I feel that way about. Like, look, we're looking at Chicago and all the moves that they've made and all the stuff that they've done, and it's like, okay, I think they're better. I think they're more competitive. I don't think they're a championship contender or anything, but I think they're a more competitive team.
Yeah, I think you're higher on Dallas than I am too.
Well, and Dallas is like their worst case scenario is all the old guys play like old guys at the same time, and the bottom falls out. So I'm very open to the idea that happens to Dallas. That
Nashville,
they just get old.
Nashville is the epitome of mediocre.
Yeah, Nashville, right? Like they're just okay. They've got some good players. They have 1 or 2 great players, and they're gonna have good goaltending. Yep. And when you have good goaltending and your best players are your defensemen, you're going to be competitive.
Yep.
Like, are they going to compete for a cup? Are they going to go deeper than a round or 2 in the postseason? No, but they'll be competitive.
Yep.
So Arizona's the only truly bad team that I see in the Central Division right now. And the Jets made a bunch of moves.
The Jets got a lot better. I think I'm with you on that.
I think Minnesota is headed for a crash, but I also think that they've done a good job of rebuilding their defense on the fly to the point where that should once again be the strength of their team that stabilizes them. My big thing is look, Cam Talbot was exceptional last season.
Yep.
If that doesn't happen again, they're in real trouble.
Well, yeah, and we'll see. Minnesota's problems come next year and the year after when they have $14 million in dead cap. But
well, I mean, they still have like Eriksson Ek has to repeat the career year that he had.
Yeah,
Victor Rask, Marcus Foligno, Jordan Greenway, Ryan Hartman. Like there are no like Kirill Kaprizov is their only like star talent. And Kevin Fiala is the only other guy that's truly dynamic. Yeah. That's it. Like, it's 2 wings. They're still Eriksson Ek is their best center. And like he's gotta, we gotta see what happens there. So I'm curious about just what their ceiling looks like. Because they outperformed some of their on-ice stuff last year pretty significantly. They had kind of a charmed season. So I'm iffy on them repeating that. And like St. Louis, Brandon Saad, Pavel Buchnevich, good players. Does this elevate them? They lost good players and they replaced them with good players. I don't see them as of yet.
It's weirdly balanced, yeah.
I think if they're going to take a big meaningful step forward, it's got to be Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou breaking out. And they need a bet, like Ville Husso actually has to be serviceable as a backup. They can't just go in and lose all their backup games.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I actually love that idea. If they could pop Hayden Fleury out of
that'd be
Seattle,
dope. Yeah,
I would
depending
love that.
on price, of course. But
yeah, I would love that. Give him next year's 3rd round pick. You already don't have a 1st and a 2nd.
just
keep going.
completely abandon next draft. Yeah,
Just keep going.
All right, AJ. I need 2 awards through free agency so far.
Ooh, okay.
We have the best and the worst team. The best is the Shavy, and the worst is the Bush.
What? What are you talking about?
I think you know.
You need a best?
Yeah, give me the best and worst. Free agency so far. Obviously not done yet, but
Seattle.
okay. Seattle did go big in free agency. It's true. Do you have a worst free agency so far?
I don't think so.
No.
Edmonton.
Acceptable. All right. So, chat, when you need to take your Bush from Edmonton and turn it into a Seattle, nice clean shaven.
Worked so hard for this.
Chat already knows. Chat already
so
knows.
hard for this.
You got to have fun with it a little bit sometimes. Head on over to Manscaped. Use code DNVR to get 20% off and free shipping on the Perfect Package 4.0. You can get the trimmer. They do have a ton of other products that include caring for your body, both above and below the belt, whether it be deodorant, breath mints, all sorts of other stuff as well. Yeah, Manscaped, go check them out. They're one of our partners, just like everyone else. We appreciate them. They appreciate us. One big happy family. Let them know DNVR sent you. Okay. Any final thoughts here, AJ? Have we settled happily into the Avs need to still more work to do, even if it's not major work?
Yeah. They have to trim around the edges of their roster. They've got to figure it out.
Do a little styling. I got you.
Oh, the Padres traded for Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
It's kind of been fun that the Rockies are who cares this year because the NL West arms race has gotten really exciting.
They're popping off between the Padres and the Dodgers.
And the Giants now.
The Giants have gotten involved too, yeah.
Anyway, there's still some work to be done. I know a lot of people are like, oh, look at everything that the Avs have lost, but I also think the Avs were in a position to replace a lot of that stuff internally. Not all of it, but some of it. Mm-hmm. And the big thing is that I think they upgraded a goaltender. And they still have the best top line in the NHL.
There you go. Still contender status right there. If they're healthy.
And I still think I think they're going to have the best defense in the league with Bo and Byram. Yep.
Regardless of that 6th D spot.
I do think it will be a tougher go of it next year.
I don't think you're going to see 10-game stretches of the Avs giving up less than 20 shots. But anyway, I've never been a fan of CM Punk. I'm not going to lie. But we're out of here. Thank you, chat. watching, listening, consuming the pod. We appreciate all of you. Y'all know the drill. If the Avs do something crazy, we'll be back this evening, but hopefully they give us a little bit of a break here.
We are rating tonight, so we're guaranteed to see something happen in the middle of that shit.
Probably. We've gotten pretty lucky with the timing so far. Landy signed like 15 minutes after Ray.
Yeah. True. I mean, the Graves deal happened like 40 minutes into it.
Yeah.
And we were just like, screw it, we're in here.
After our 5-hour show, like the Avs gave us just enough time to like take a break and reset before they went out and got Kemper.
I literally napped, woke up, and they traded for him. And I was like, all right, let's get back on the air.
It's the way it goes. But this one is over. Appreciate all of you. We will be back at very least tomorrow to talk about around the league, whatever the Avs do. Just depends on what the news of the day is. Hope to see you there. Until then, we will talk to you all later.